Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. In the time available tonight, I intend to cover two major projects, as Lorna's mentioned. Of necessity, this is going to be very much a whistle-stop tour through those projects, so we'd encourage you to have a look at the handout that is in your pack on your seats, and also to have a look at our website and to ask questions. First of those projects, as you'll see from the screen, relates to new standards for education, training and CPD. Now, I'm sure you'll all be aware that the route to qualification involves obtaining an LLB degree, a diploma in legal practice and a 2-year traineeship. And that has been the route to qualification, give or take a few amendments throughout the years, for about 30 years or so. So why would we choose to change it at this stage? Well, in 2006, we undertook a major consultation with members of the profession and other interested parties, asking for their views on what they thought the future shape of education and training might be, and what any issues were with the current route. And it's those responses, some 900 responses to that consultation, that have helped shape the direction we're going to be going in from September 2011. So you, the profession, gave us your views, and we've acted upon them. So just briefly to recap on what some of the issues were with the current route. Well, one of them related to lack of flexibility in the law degree itself. And you'll probably be aware the Law Society asks for a number of professional subjects to be covered as part of the degree programme. And that has had the effect of really stifling any innovation in the law degree curriculum. Students spend the entire first 2 years of the current programme studying the Law Society's prescribed subjects. And under the new system, we'll be moving away from prescribed subjects, and instead we'll have outcomes to be met by each student during the course of the degree programme. And different universities will choose to meet those outcomes in different ways. So the students will follow a common core of outcomes, but maybe meet those outcomes in different subject areas throughout their degree course. Another issue was the perceived lack of linkage between the diploma and the traineeship. And indeed, a lot of students view their diploma year as the last year at university rather than their first year of professional training. So what we're seeking to do in the new programme is to make those two complementary parts of one whole, two complementary parts of professional training. And that's where the term PEAT that you see up on the screen comes from. It stands for Professional Education and Training, with the diploma being part 1 and the traineeship being part 2. And there will be a common set of outcomes linking across and running through those two stages. The other area that was of issue was the professional competence course, which is currently taken by all trainees during their 2-year traineeship. And it was felt that that wasn't quite hitting the mark in its current form. So from 2011 onwards, that will be phased out and will be replaced by the requirement for trainees to undertake Trainee Continuing Professional Development, or TCPD, which is the other term that you see up on the screen. And that will involve trainees taking 60 hours of that form of training, but a great deal more flexibility around what that training involves. So the change process is currently underway. We're in the process of accrediting all of our providers, our 10 LLB providers and our 7 diploma providers, so that by September 2011 they will have been through a rigorous and robust accreditation process with us and have been accredited to run the new programmes from September 11. The PEAT1 programme, the diploma programme, will look somewhat different. It will have a shorter, much more focused core and a greater choice of electives for students. And different universities will choose to offer different electives based on their own expertise or particular interest or demand from students. So the students who come into your offices as trainees will have had a common core with a common set of outcomes, but different experience in terms of electives, and some firms may choose to have a say in what their trainees choose in terms of their electives. Benefits to the profession of this system will be that once your trainees come in, for the first time ever, you will know that all the graduates coming into your office have achieved a certain benchmark standard, and that when they enter your office as that day 1 trainee, they've achieved at least that threshold. So there will no longer be uncertainty about what they have covered and what they might be skilled to do. That benchmark will be there. The trainer's job over the 2 years of the traineeship is then to take them from that standard of the day 1 trainee and over the course of those 2 years to reach the standard of the qualifying solicitor, which is where we would expect them to be at the end of the 2-year traineeship. The Society is currently in the process of producing a raft of guidance on that PEAT 2, the traineeship programme, and there'll be a greater range of help and support from the Law Society than ever before in relation to how firms go about training trainees. And the guidance will include detailed requirements of what we would expect in a PEAT 2 traineeship, how to train a trainee, how to get the best out of your trainee, what the outcomes should be, and also to give examples of the type of work and training activities that you might help your trainee along the way with. Trainee continuing professional development is not intended to be a direct replacement for the professional competence course. It exists solely to support the achievement of the outcomes. So I mentioned the fact that there's a requirement to undertake 60 hours across the 2 years. 40 hours will come from a licensed provider, and the other 20 hours can be a free choice of TCPD. And there will be flexibility there for both the trainee and the trainer in terms of identifying TCPD that supports the trainee's development and assists with the achievement of those outcomes. From December this year to February of next year, there's a PEAT 2 pilot running with a cross-section of firms and organisations who currently take trainees. And then in early 2011, the Society will begin the process of licensing TCPD providers. And some of those may be in-house firms offering the training to their own trainees. Others may be external providers, some of our existing professional competence course providers, or some existing CPD providers, and indeed potentially some new providers. Also in early 2011, we will be licensing training firms and organisations to complete their quarterly performance reviews with trainees in-house. The final strand of this project relates to your continuing professional development requirements, and perhaps the good news is that the requirement will remain at 20 hours as at present. There'll also be greater flexibility in what will count for CPD. So at the moment, we allow very limited, for example, distance learning, and there will be greater flexibility to enable you to take up online or distance learning opportunities, or to count activities such as coaching or mentoring within your firm, provided they have a developmental activity attached to them. We'll be asking for a named training partner in each firm as a central point of contact for the Society, and there will also be a requirement in relation to CPD to plan, to undertake your CPD, and then to spend some time evaluating what you have learned or how you have changed your practice or your behaviour as a result of the CPD activity undertaken. And the Society is again in the process of preparing a raft of guidance with some examples on how to go through that activity and samples of CPD activities which may count. So dates to remember on this project: September 2011, we will have new admission regulations to support the new framework. The new degree courses and the new PEAT 1 courses will be up and running, and the new PEAT 2 traineeship commences as well. And then from November 2011, there will be the new CPD regime brought in. Now, the second project I'd like to address tonight relates to the introduction of a registered paralegal scheme. For over a decade now, the Society has worked closely with and supported the Scottish Paralegal Association, which has been recognised by us as an independent organisation representing paralegals in Scotland. They are now our partners in the registered paralegal scheme, and membership of the RP scheme includes membership of that representative body, the Scottish Paralegal Association. It's estimated that there are around 10,000 paralegals in Scotland, but there's never been any real definition of the term paralegal or of the role of the paralegal. And at the same time, paralegals have been increasingly involved in transactions. The Law Society believes that it's best placed to define those standards, and this scheme seeks, for the first time really, to clarify and define the role of the paralegal in Scotland. It creates general standards and standards which are specific to particular areas of legal practice, which when achieved by a paralegal can result in attainment of that registered paralegal badge. So the scheme, which is voluntary, it'll be up to you as employers of paralegals or supporting your paralegals to opt into the system if that is of interest. And the scheme will capture paralegals who support and are supervised by a Scottish solicitor. And I think it's probably an important point to note that the solicitor will retain ultimate responsibility for the work undertaken, as has indeed always been the case. There are 3 stages of the route to entry. The first of those is up and running, has been since August this year, and will run to the 15th of this month. And during that stage, we've been accepting applications from experienced members of existing organisations, such as the Scottish Paralegal Association, Society of Specialist Paralegals, and the Society of Law Accountants in Scotland. There have been particular criteria set for that grandfathering stage. Paralegals in this stage must have 2 years' experience, must hold a relevant qualification, have reached a particular grade of membership of their paralegal association, and satisfy us that they have a fully completed CPD record. The second stage of the process opens on the 16th of November, and that will run until the 16th of August next year. And this stage has been introduced to recognise the experience of highly experienced paralegals who may already meet the standards which the scheme seeks to set. At that stage, all applicants must enter as a trainee registered paralegal, and that will involve a 1-year training period where the trainee registered paralegal and the supervising solicitor work together to meet the standards set by the society. And at that stage, successful trainees will qualify as registered paralegals. We intend to hold some dedicated events over the later period in January and early February, where we will be out speaking to the profession again about what's happening in education and training, and also about the registered paralegal scheme. So I would encourage you to come along to those, because obviously we'll be able to go into much more detail at that stage than has been possible tonight. But in the meantime, we'd be happy to address any questions. Thank you.